strange that I'm feeling more worn out after voluntarily staying put. My first night in this accommodation was pleasant after the fiasco of check-in. After a navigation nightmare in Fes El Bali's ancient Medina, I was greeted by a non-English speaker who proceeded to put me in a dorm room. I corrected him and he led me upstairs to a twin room. When he did this, I showed him my booking for a private double with bathroom. This is when he became flustered, overly so, and after a heated phone conversation, he gestured for me to sit and wait, which I did for 30 minutes. While he waited for another guest to come back, only for him to be told he must leave. This was my introduction to the hostel of many names. 3, or is it 4? My brain is slightly addled at this point, on the verge of loading my bike and scarpering from this hellhole. It's just gone 2200 on Sunday night. I've been asleep since 1700, after spending most of the Saturday night being kept awake by not only the host, but a multitude of people coming and going all night, scraping furniture and slamming doors. It takes me back to when I lived out of hostels, when I travelled the UK working in various cities, after discovering the joy of cycling and being lucky enough to have employment in it. That is, until I settled in London and then eventually became homeless. Where was I? That's right. So I woke early, if you can call it waking, on Sunday morning, only to discover my milk had curdled. Off I went in search of fresh, just to satisfy my addiction to my morning brew. Yorkshire tea, to be precise. I'm forever grateful, Julie. Thank you. No milk to be had. However, I was second customer at a cafe where I had to settle for 2 hot coffees. I managed to upload 3 videos to the tube. The Wi-Fi speed was spectacular, which is the silver lining I'm grasping at on this occasion. On the walk back to this hostel, I get visions of the early 2000s Eli Roth movies when I say this. If you know the feeling of dread I'm feeling in having to go back. I secure a plastic bottle of milk from another reluctant cafe worker who only seemed appeased upon me mentioning I need it for a cup of English tea. I saved in the explanation as to why I needed honey sweetened tea first thing. I enter the darkened hostel with all lights off and a snoring Mustafa sprawled out in the common area just outside my room. It seems he sleeps and holds court to all who visit him here in this very room with paper-thin walls. I brew up on my gas stove and prep a percolator of fresh beans and wander up to the roof terrace, thinking I'll spend a few pleasant hours doing the back-end data for these new uploads. Nope, the universe is testing me. No peace for Kiwi was to be had. A body was sprawled out on the sofa, snoring like a walrus. I chose a chair away from him and somewhat settled into an uncomfortable comfort, supping tea and tweaking text in YouTube Studio. Eventually, I wander back down and set off in search of food to break fast. I settled on bean soup, my second since being here. Plain, simple and nutritious. Cheap too at only 8 dirham. After wandering back, I grab my bike and try and blow some sense of clarity into my brain by going for a leisurely 15-kilometre meander. And after arriving back at the hostel and stumbling through darkness once again, searching for the light switch, disturbing Mustafa once again, even after the way he and his cohorts were through the night, I can't help but feel bad every time I've disturbed his daytime slumber with my noisy entrance and flooding of light. And it's lunchtime. There would have been a time I would have taken a kind of perverted joy in disturbing an individual that had been the cause of such a god-awful night of disturbed sleep. But I think, with my life experience and mentality these days, I've come to realise that type of reaction doesn't sit well with me anymore. That section probably says more about me than it does about Mustafa. There would have been a time I'd have enjoyed the petty revenge, but now it just feels hollow. I think age, experience and mentality have taught me that. I think that treat people as you'd want to be treated, regardless of the situation, comes to mind. So I write this for prosperity. It's now 22:30, Sunday evening. It's quieting down with just the odd bit of disturbance. But the night is not over. I feel it's hardly begun. I lie here with a sense of dread of what's to come What is it Mustafa, or is it Eli Roth has planned? Will I be forced to load my bike in the small hours and find another aboard? Sometimes it's easier and comfier living amongst the twigs, the slugs, and the dusty buildings of the outside world than attempting to find comfort and peace in the normal. Perhaps that's the strangest part of it all. I've paid for shelter, I've paid for a bed, and I've paid for four walls, yet I've rarely felt less rested. Out amongst the trees, the dust, and the uncertainty of the road, at least I know what I'm dealing with. Here, in the supposed comfort of normality, I find myself longing for the simplicity that the outside offers.